Thanks for joining us, everyone. I'm Jim Grimes. Liz has the evening off. Well, as worries about civil unrest sweep the nation tonight, a bill aimed at cracking down on violent protests is already being debated in Florida. The governor says his legislation is necessary to keep the peace during times just like this. But some Democrats say it's overkill and possibly even unconstitutional. Our Jay O'Brien has been looking into that. He joins us now with the latest. Jay?
Yeah, Jim, there is a lot in this bill. One of the most controversial provisions was taken out, that notion that would have allowed people to shoot suspected looters and other kinds of rioters. But there's still a lot more in this that is remaining in the bill and will be debated, like a penalty for cities that decide to fund their police departments or stricter penalties against people who commit crimes while rioting.
September, the COVID pandemic is raging. Election day nears, and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has an announcement.
It will probably be the boldest and most comprehensive piece of legislation.
Flanked by law enforcement, the governor calls for new legislation to crack down on riots in Florida, the kind playing out elsewhere in Portland and Kenosha.
I think that this has been a really, really sad chapter in American history.
Fast forward to this week, and we're getting our first glimpse of the legislation. It proposes a lot: stiffening penalties for people who hurt police during a riot, damage property, or block traffic by force. Something seen repeatedly over the summer. But the legislation also holds everyone at a protest responsible, even if violence breaks out in a small group.
The bill conceives of everyone at a protest as engaging in a kind of conspiracy.
After scenes like this at the U.S. Capitol, Governor DeSantis has doubled down on the bill.
We're not going to tolerate it in Florida. I hope maybe now we'll get even more support for my legislation.
But State Representative Omari Hardy, a Democrat, doesn't buy that.
Does that work with you?
I might have been born at night, but I wasn't born last night. This is clearly a response to the protests of the summer, to the George Floyd protests. This is about trying to silence the Black Lives Matter movement.
State Senator Tina Polsky wants to see the bill debated and watered down, believing parts of it violate free speech.
You don't need to crack down on violence. Violence is already illegal.
But the legislature is controlled by Republicans, and many agree with the governor that this is a needed deterrent.
You're not going to see people throw bricks anymore. I mean, they do it because they think they can get away with it.
Do you think Democrats in the legislature are going to have to eat some version of this bill?
Well, as I said, it's possible that there's a watered down bill. And as I said, I'd be fine if, the only thing we end up with is maybe a harsher penalty for hitting a police officer, for example.
There's been widespread criticism from Democrats saying that the bill would disproportionately target minority communities and also seriously put limits on free speech. One more portion of the bill that is worth noting is an anti-doxing provision. That's what happens when you release someone's information out online. That would become illegal underneath this bill. But again, this won't get a lot of debate until March, when the legislature gavels into session. I'm Jay O'Brien, CBS 12 News.